George Chopping has more than 6,000 empty bottles, but he says that's not enough. He's still crisscrossing the prairies, digging up more wherever he can find them. Terry Maddy caught up with the collector at the site of an old bottle factory.
If you happen to spot this van parked somewhere at an odd location on the prairies, chances are that nearby you will see George Chopping of Spy Hill, Saskatchewan, the leading expert on the subject of prairie bottles. Chopping spent all of last week at the site of an old bottle factory in Beausejour, Manitoba, which went out of business in 1913. For 10 hours a day, Chopping dug for clues to establish exactly what bottles were made here.
Oh, God. Guess what? A bottle.
Chopping was delighted when he found a complete bottle, but he found only a couple. Mostly he found pieces of glass, thousands of them, which he will later sort and use to document the history of the Manitoba Glassworks. Chopping is a mechanic at a potash mine near his home in Saskatchewan, but he spends most weekends and holidays on his hobby, living in his van when he's on digs like this one. Often he searches for bottles in old garbage dumps, sometimes with fellow members of the Parkland Bottle Collectors Society. Chopping personally published a handsome book on his hobby filled with pictures, all of which he took himself.
The old bottles, to me, is very exciting. It relates to our Canadian history, especially our prairie early towns, cities like Winnipeg, Edmonton, Regina, Saskatoon, and it relates to the story of some of the early businesses when they established and what years you start doing research in the old archives and stuff, and it relates to our early Canadian pioneer history.
Back home in Spy Hill, Chopping has what is probably the biggest collection of prairie bottles anywhere, 6,000 of them. They range in value from 50 cents to $300.
I go in there quite often and look at them, and then always dreaming that you can get another one that would help fill up the collection. It gives you lots of good memories of, well, the fun you had where you got this one or who you horse traded this one for, and it's so exciting. Some have even come out from in between the old walls of old buildings, and it's all history, all our Canadian history, and I enjoy it, you know.
Chopping's ambition is to make a contribution to Canadian history. He also wants to find a certain kind of preserving jar, the success sealer with the wheat sheaf design, in either the pint or quart size. He already has the pieces of several success sealers. He says a complete, unbroken one would be the answer to a dream. Terry Maddy, CBC News, at Beausejour, Manitoba.